Cuando emigramos a este país, buscamos el sueño americano, lo cual significa que buscamos la prosperidad para nuestra familia.
Y he venido diríamos, a esta bella ciudad para echar la familia hacia adelante y poder lograr mis sueños, también lo de mis hijos.
Una situación muy, muy pobre. Y yo esperaba salir adelante, sacar a mis hijos adelante.
I promise you, if someone that was homeless, that was lost on the inside could do it, every last person breathing with a beating heart that was born from a mother and a father could do the exact same thing.
If they're misrepresenting what you can realistically expect to earn, that's dishonest.
The secret is to get 5 other people to do the same thing every month and teach them to get 5 other people to do the same thing every month. Before you know it, not only will you be a supervisor, but you'll have 5 supervisors under you. You're going to be making somewhere in the neighborhood of $42,000 a month.
And as a unsophisticated, unemployed, low-income person, which is the target audience for Herbalife, this kind of pitch from someone I trust sounds appealing.
Here's the reality. Our core training is for a new distributor who wants to build a business is they talk to 10 customers today, 10 people a day about the products and the business opportunity. I have never spoken to any distributor who is doing that, who's actively engaged, who is not making money.
The majority of your distributors do not make any money. They make less than $1,000 in an entire year, no commissions in a year.
I'd say $1,000. That's a lot of money. Not everybody's going to make it to the CEO suite. Not everybody's going to make it to, the Pope's seat. Not everybody's going to make it to that seat. It's an aspirational and inspirational thing.
And the unfortunate thing is that something in order of 99% of the people lose money. There are about 50 that make 5 or 10 million a year. There are about 1,000 that make a few $100,000 a year. And the other 3.6 million lose, anywhere between $300 and $3, $8, $10, $20, $30,000. And they do smart things like put the Herbalife logo on football jerseys of famous soccer stars, and they back various teams. That's very appealing to the Hispanic community, which is actually the target audience that they've been very successful with.
It is true that Herbalife is growing, and a lot of that growth has come from Latino communities, where Herbalife has been aggressively expanding for years. They even bought a sponsorship on the hit telenovela La Fea Más Bella. It's very subtle. Just see if you can spot it.
Mira, se llama Herbalife. Esto te va a ayudar a tener más energía y te va a ayudar también a enfrentar todos los problemas que tienes. Créeme.
¿De verdad?
Yo lo tomo todos los días.
Ay, a ver.
Aparte está delicioso.
The fact a large percentage of Herbalife's business comes from Latinos is a point of pride for Michael Johnson.
We call it the Herbalife family, and we're not ashamed of that. We're very proud of that. The Latino, the blood, if you will, it's in this company, and it feels great.
But there's a very high percentage of Latinos doing your distribution in the U.S., and the question has been raised by Bill Ackman and others about whether these distributors are undocumented immigrants. Do you have a number on that?
Absolutely. So here's where our policy is. Every single distributor comes to Herbalife, they're required to provide a taxpayer ID number. So there's no issue here. So again, this is just one more case of you've got somebody motivated by profit and greed, helping to, frankly, create smoke, create distortion, and so on. Right. I mean, if you think about it, another charge is that we're actually going after the Latino community because in some way this is an impoverished, uneducated group. And frankly, our Latino distributors and customers find that insulting. If a supermarket chain begins to operate or opens up a new store in an area that is economically deprived, they're cheered and applauded because they are bringing good nutrition, they're bringing jobs in that community. And yet when we support the Latino community, in some way, this is a company going after people who aren't able to make an educated decision regarding good nutrition. I mean, frankly, it's insulting to us, it's insulting to our customers, it's insulting to the entire Latino community.
Perdí quizás 32,000 36,000.
Estuve con Herbalife un tiempo de 3 años y perdí más de $30,000.
Perdí más de $8,500 en Herbalife.
Puedo decirle que he perdido más de $30,000.
Yo perdí $35,000.
Tuve una pérdida de $62,000.
I lost close to $29,000. I lost about $70,000.
Yo perdí más de $100,000.
Del 2010 a 2013 perdí la suma de $110,000.
When I left the mayor's office, New York Times said, and Villa Ragosa, no job, no house, no car. I was focused on my job. Then I went to work for a California-based company that was selling vitamins, as I mentioned. With all due respect, you went to work for a company that was fined $200 million for predatory practices against communities of color. And you decided to do that because you wanted to monetize your service. It was the Obama administration that fined them. And you were there. That hurt hundreds of thousands of families. So you took the cheapest buck. And I don't know, it's a question of values. And I, with all due respect, think you do owe the people of this state and diverse communities across the country an apology for the work you did on behalf of Herbalife.
Al paso del tiempo, cuando yo no pude pagar mi propio departamento, me tuve que ir a vivir también al club, junto con mi hija.
Perdí a mis hijos, perdí la tranquilidad, perdí el sueño, perdí la calma, perdí la felicidad.
I lost everything.
Es muy doloroso para mí. ¿Por qué? Porque mi cabeza solamente estaba en ¿de dónde tomo más dinero? ¿Qué más hago? ¿Dónde genero más dinero? ¿Qué más vendo? Para poder continuar pagando la renta, los biles y comprar más productos. Entonces, realmente lo expreso abiertamente. Tuve miedo a ser homeless. No sabía dónde iba a ir con mis hijas.
Vivía de la buena voluntad de las gentes que me dejaban un tip en su vida. Y para mi hija no tenía nada. Ahí fue cuando yo deserté de Herbalife.
Kamala Harris for the people.
California's former Attorney General is under fire for failing to investigate the multi-level marketing company known as Herbalife. It makes diet powders and nutritional products that can only be sold through its individual distributors, many of whom are looking to achieve the American dream. Documents obtained by Yahoo News also shows that the San Diego office of the California Attorney General also pled with Harris to conduct an investigation. In 2015, prosecutors sent her a letter requesting 2 full-time attorneys, at least 3 legal assistants, and even officers to conduct undercover operations. Officials claim Herbalife looked clean on the outside but could be, quote, engaged in less obvious conduct. 3 weeks after officials in San Diego sent that letter, Harris's campaign received its first of just a few donations from D.C. lobbyist Heather Podesta. Heather's former husband Tony founded the infamous Podesta Group, which worked for Herbalife at the time. Reports show Heather Podesta's own firm was later hired by Herbalife. In addition, Harris's own husband has connections to the company. He was at one time employed by a prominent law firm that represented Herbalife. The Harris campaign has responded to the outcry, claiming the lawmaker has a long record of going after bad corporate actors and delivering results for people who have been taken advantage of. But activists disagree, saying she declined to fight against the exploitation of her Latino constituents.
I knew I wanted to protect people. The people in our society who are most often targeted by predators are also most often the voiceless and vulnerable.
Despite her campaign, some question whether she's genuine or if it's all just political optics.
Es una injusticia. Una injusticia. Y quiero que lo paren ya.
Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is G. I'm a new YouTube content creator, and my passion lies in exposing the predatory and manipulative tactics of MLMs. MLMs are multi-level marketing businesses, also known as direct selling, social selling, network marketing, or my favorite, legal pyramid schemes. If you aren't that familiar with MLMs, please stick around because later on in the video, we will go over them in more detail. If you enjoy this video, please let me know in the comments, and if you would like to continue to hear my perspective on things, go ahead and click that subscribe button. Thank you to my 26 current subscribers and to everyone who has left a comment or left some feedback on my videos. I really appreciate it. I'm glad to know that someone is out there watching, and I'm just excited to be chatting with you all. In today's video, I want to discuss a giant of a multi-level marketing company. This company is international. It's worth $6 billion and it's called Herbalife. Herbalife sells health and wellness supplements, weight loss products, nutritional vitamins, and so forth. Herbalife's workforce is comprised of distributors who sign up with the company and then purchase inventory up front so they can go in turn sell it to people. On paper, everything seems great. But what most often happens is that distributors sign up thinking that they are going to be business owners and they are going to be making money by being salespeople of these products, when in reality, they may just end up getting stuck with all of this inventory and they have to absorb that cost themselves. And they realize that the real money is not in selling the products, but it's in recruiting people. Distributors learn that the only way to truly be successful in this company is if you recruit people to become your downline. You recruit your friend recruits their friend, and the cycle continues and continues. What's even more disturbing is that Herbalife has done an excellent job of tapping into the Latino community, especially the undocumented community. Immigrants come to this country, they have hopes, they have dreams, they want to set up a life for themselves, they want to have a family or take care of their family, have a home, have a business. These dreams and aspirations are not unlike the dreams and aspirations of average American citizens. In comes Herbalife to capitalize off of their undocumented status and their aspirations. Herbalife and their egregious lies. Did you catch in the introduction video when the one lady said that you could be making $42,000 a month? Lies like this are spoken in English and in Spanish and are packaged in a pretty little box with a bow on top. And people are manipulated and seduced into believing in a dream that will never materialize. Let's talk about why people in the undocumented community are more susceptible to becoming victims of pyramid schemes. Well, first you have to understand that victims of pyramid schemes and of predatory MLMs already are less likely to go and report that to the government. I believe that people don't report that they've been a victim of an MLM scam or a fraud because they are scared of being judged by others. They're embarrassed maybe that they got sucked into something like that. Maybe they feel shame and guilt because they actually ended up recruiting other people to join. So there's a lot of feelings that go into it that could stop somebody from reporting. When you're undocumented, there could be serious threats against you from current distributors, and those threats can be very effective at silencing you. So you're here in the United States, you're an immigrant, you don't speak English, you have a strong work ethic, you are willing to do whatever it takes to build a comfortable life for yourself here. Maybe you want to start a family, maybe you want to provide for your family, maybe you want to make some money so that you can send it back to your family in your native country. The stakes are high for you to want to succeed and want to do something with your life and the opportunity to be here in this country. The MLMs make you believe. You see these videos of people with their nice cars and their pools and their huge backyards, and they're not even doing any work. They're just on vacation, it looks like. So you start to think, why not? Why can't that be me? They lure you in and you fall for it, hook, line, and sinker. Remember, this pitch isn't coming from somebody you don't know. This is coming from somebody in your community. This might be coming from your tia, your prima, your suegra, your aunt, your cousin, your mother-in-law. They will be coming at you with this opportunity, and when you hear things like, oh, you'll be earning $40,000 a month, they entice you and they lure you in. So you sign up, you get a starter kit, you start drinking these products, and then they convince you to pay $3,000 to become a supervisor. And then you're encouraged to open up a nutrition club. And as they're grooming you down this process, they're showing you these pictures of what these nutrition clubs can look like. And oh my gosh, looks amazing in there. That's definitely a cash cow. Why can't I open one of those up? Okay, great. But you open those up and find out that there's all these rules and weird regulations in place. So your nutrition club isn't even gonna look like what you had seen. Creepy, right? Yeah. But they will get you to purchase more and more products. Keep you busy with personal development, meetings, glitzy conventions where you're sold on the dream. And they'll tell you, don't be negative, be coachable, work on your mindset. If you fail, it's not because of us, it's because of you. You didn't try hard enough. No one comes into your club. You've run out of people to recruit. You're starting to have trouble paying the bills because you're realizing that instead of having money coming in every month, you're actually becoming in the negative. After a while, you can't even afford to pay your own rent. But luckily, you still have the nutrition club for now. So you take your daughter, you take your family, and you go move in to your nutrition club because you can't even afford to live in your own apartment. You're losing money every day. You're genuinely scared about where your next paycheck is going to come from or where your next meal is going to come from. Hey, at least you have all that inventory of product, right? Well, that shit expires. So there's a chance that that could spoil on you before you could even use it. Does this seem right to you? If not, how does Herbalife get away with it? Let's dig in. In a Belgium court in 2011, the court found Herbalife to be a pyramid scheme. Essentially, they found that the distributors were the true end customer of Herbalife products and not some outside person that they sold to. This means that the distributors weren't really selling the product, they were the product. Herbalife filed an appeal 2 years later, and they got this ruling overturned. To summarize, the court found that it was actually perfectly fine for the distributor to be the main customer because most people sign up for the discounted product prices anyway. If it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck, right? Well, this looks and quacks like corruption and corporate greed, but that's just my opinion. Sadly, things are not any different here in the United States. MLMs have a long history of political power. They first got a big break in 1979 with the Amway court case ruling that basically created a loophole to make pyramid schemes legal. If you wanted to start an MLM, you had to be selling a product, and that's their workaround. But what truly helped MLMs gain such a foothold in the American business world was when Ronald Reagan was president. He was president from 1981 to 1989, and he basically came in and just had a policy of deregulation, which was great for businesses because they got to get away with more, but it was really bad for the average American citizen. In effect, it meant that the government was going to be less effective at protecting Americans from being the victims of frauds. Corporations are king. With less regulations in place, MLM-friendly people started dumping more and more money into government through lobbying. To lobby means to seek political influence on an issue, and more often than not, the lobbyist who has the most financial backing power, those are the ones that win. Those are the issues that get moved forward, or those are the issues that don't get moved forward. Herbalife hadn't really spent much money lobbying prior to 2006, because in 2006, the Federal Trade Commission, also known as the FTC, they wanted to put out this rule called the Better Opportunity Business Rule. And basically what this rule was, it was going to make MLM companies provide this disclosure where they disclose certain things about their business to potential customers or recruits. Some of the things that were going to be required to be shared was whether the company was involved in any fraud-based lawsuits. I mean, yeah, I would want to know that if I'm about to sign up to work for this company. What are the terms of its refund policies? What are the total number of purchasers in the past 2 years and the number of those purchasers seeking a refund or to cancel in that time period? Yeah, if I know that I'm about to get in business with a company whose products have like a 95% return rate, I'm not going to want to be involved with that. And also a list of references. And it would also require some documentation to support any claims that the seller was going to make. all of these things are great, right? If you're the average American consumer and looking for a job, these are great facts to have. This is really empowering for you to know. Well, Herbalife, that's when they started dropping money. They spent a lot of money lobbying and donating to campaigns, and this was on both sides of the aisle. Herbalife gave handsomely to MLM-friendly Republicans such as Wisconsin Congressman Paul Ryan and Pennsylvania Senator Rick Santorum, but like I said, both sides, so Democrats also got a taste of the action too, with New York Congressman Adolphus Towns, Elliot L. Engel, and Gary Ackerman receiving contributions. By 2008, Herbalife had spent more than $800,000 just on lobbying alone. And remember, the majority of people who work for Herbalife will lose money and walk away with nothing or walk away in debt, and they're spending $800,000 to lobby, which is to convince government officials to be favorable to the company. Guess what happened? If you guessed that the FTC was out, you'd be right. The FTC decided that they were going to modify its rule because they just felt that it was a little bit too harsh on the MLM industry, and like, come on, that's not cool. That's going to be a challenge for people in the MLM businesses. While also in that statement, they acknowledge that there are some MLMs that do engage in unfair or deceptive tactics. So it's like, okay, you know this, but you're still letting it slide. Kind of the theme of today's video. But in 2012, that rule finally did pass. So I think that's why now we see income disclosure statement. We have more information now, I think, than people in those years did. So in December of 2012, a hedge fund venture capitalist named Bill Ackman publicly calls out Herbalife as being a pyramid scheme. He had this 3-hour-long presentation and 345 pages in this report. He even went so far as to bet $1 billion that Herbalife would eventually get shut down by the government or would collapse in on itself because it was a pyramid scheme. Herbalife's stock price went into a major decline. Ackman continues to be this crusader against Herbalife, and in early 2013, he starts reaching out to government leaders to try to get their support and get them to investigate Herbalife. Some of the people that he meets with include Representatives Linda Sanchez and Loretta Sanchez, who are both Democrats from California, as well as Peter King, who's a Republican from New York, and Senator Ed Markey from Massachusetts. While Ackman is trying to gear up support for government to step in and investigate Herbalife at the same time is also beginning to sink a lot more money into lobbying and into political power in Washington. As we can see here on this chart, their spending on lobbying increased astronomically. Not only that, but they also had this guy named Carl Icahn, who was another big hedge fund manager, and this guy was worth $15 billion. And he came to Herbalife's defense, and he bought a bunch of stock in the company and basically legitimized the company. At the macro level, you had these two billionaire hedge funders who are trying to act like they're the toughest one on the playground, but at the same time, you still had the Herbalife distributors at the micro level who are suffering financially, emotionally, physically, socially. What I was shocked to discover when researching this case was the connections to our current Vice President, Kamala Harris. I'll preface this by saying that I'm a Kamala Harris fan. I had a lot of feelings when she was elected vice president. I remember feeling so proud in that moment at the debate where she said, "Excuse me, I'm talking." I think every woman in America felt that moment. It was like a paradigm shift in this country, so I did have this very idealistic lens, which I was looking at her through. But as I started researching Herbalife, I found some really startling information. Before Kamala was our first female VP, our first Black VP, and our first Asian VP, she held the title of Attorney General. The Attorney General is the state's top lawyer and law enforcement official protecting and serving the people and interests of California through a broad range of duties. The Attorney General's responsibilities include safeguarding the public from violent criminals, preserving California's spectacular natural resources, enforcing civil rights laws, and helping victims of identity theft, mortgage-related fraud, illegal business practices, and other consumer crimes. In her job description, investigating a company like Herbalife would have been something that she would have been within her power to do. But what was disappointing to learn was that when she was Attorney General, not only did Kamala not investigate Herbalife out of her own accord or her own moral or ethical system, but what was worse was that she was repeatedly asked by government leaders and by activist groups to investigate Herbalife, and she didn't. She literally turned the other way. In October of 2013, Latino activists urged Kamala Harris to investigate Herbalife at a big protest. Dozens of protesters were there, some with signs saying, "Stop exploiting us." And then in December 13, I found this article of this UCLA professor who's also calling for Kamala Harris to investigate Herbalife, and specifically because of what they're doing to the Latino community. And there were others out there who were actually organizing and who were speaking up and demanding that something be done about Herbalife. Kamala was actually setting herself apart in her choice to do nothing. Actions speak louder than words, and by Kamala not doing a single action. Kamala, where are you at? In 2015, prosecutors in the San Diego office of the California attorney sent Harris a memorandum, and they lined everything out, how they thought Herbalife, while on the surface looks like everything's fine, there could be some real shit going on there. Please look into this. But she does nothing. Again, what was even sketchier, if you remember from the introduction, was that soon after that, she started receiving a few checks from somebody who had been married to a lawyer for Herbalife. So there's Herbalife connections there between Kamala as well as Kamala's husband. He also has ties to Herbalife as well. Harris never gave a reason why she decided not to do anything about Herbalife, but a lot of people noticed that this was in stark contrast to everything she purports herself to be. As somebody who is there to look out for the voiceless and the vulnerable, this would have been a perfect opportunity to look out for those people and stop corporate greed. People in the Latino community wouldn't refer to her anymore as Kamala, they would call her Que Mala. What that means is, how bad. So while Kamala's over there doing nothing, the FTC decides that they're going to open up their own investigation into Herbalife. They end up charging Herbalife with 4 counts of unfair, false, and deceptive business practices. To settle the complaint, all Herbalife had to do was pay $200 million. And I know you're thinking, that's a lot. Not really. When you really think about the financial, economic, physical, social, emotional cost that it had on the distributors, this $200 million was just measly when you divided it among the distributors. And remember, since so many of them are undocumented, it's not like they were going to sign up and give over their information to the government so they could actually reap those benefits. Herbalife CEO Michael Johnson described that settlement as, quote, an acknowledgement that our business model is sound, end quote. 4 months later, he stepped down as CEO, so I wonder how sound it really was. And in 2016, there's actually more evidence of people reaching out to Kamala again, and again, she does nothing. And remember that guy Carl Icahn? Well, when Donald Trump was president, he actually named him as Special Advisor to the President on Regulatory Reform. Seems legit. So where does that leave us now? Well, first of all, we have to understand that MLMs disproportionately affect people of color. Today, we specifically were just talking about Herbalife and how it affects the Latino community, but in some of the research that I've done, the most negative outcomes in MLMs are usually for people who are Latinos and members of the Black community as well. It's not just a financial cost, it's also that emotional cost, that shame and guilt of roping in your friends and family and people of your community to join you, and that'll tear your community apart. My heart really broke as I was watching victims of Herbalife share their stories, and it really made me reflect on myself and my position in this country, because my grandparents grandparents emigrated here from Mexico. And if they had a friend who was trusted to them who lured them into a pyramid scheme, I don't think I would be where I am today. So I just wonder how many people's lives were stolen and how many future generations were stolen. You know, it's just a really sad thought. Aside from the financial costs and the emotional costs, there's also evidence that Herbalife's products will cause you physical harm, even death. And I'm stating this from research that I've done, and I'm going to include all of the sources below. But here's a few things that I want to show you. First is a clip from an Herbalife protest in Chicago of 2015.
Cuando yo empecé a tomarlo, yo estaba perfectamente bien de salud. En el tiempo que lo estuve tomando, mi salud se deterioró bastante, al grado de llegar al hospital. Me faltaban 3 puntos para entrar a la leucemia. Y yo pienso que la gente tiene que abrir los ojos y no creer que ellos son doctores. Ellos me dijeron, oh, te vamos a dar más pastillas. Yo no alcancé a tomar más pastillas porque caí al hospital grave.
¿Cuánto tiempo estuvo tomando usted el producto?
3 meses. Entre los batidos y las pastillas que me metieron, pienso que gasté unos $2,000.
Next is a video clip from YouTuber called Red Pilled Reyes from 2016.
I've taken the products, I've taken the Herbalife 24 and the Quick Start with all the tabs like I was instructed by my so-called upline / wellness coach, you know, very religiously. And I've been doing that for the past 4.5 years. So fast forward from 2011 to 2015, September, I believe, I got lab results from my physical exams that I get every year at the VA. So when I got the results, I had some real disturbing news indicating that my thyroid and my liver had severe abnormalities. What? Abnormalities? My thyroid readings is out of whack and my liver had very a severe fatty liver. And I was like, well, how can that be? I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't eat junk food, I eat very clean, or as clean as I possibly can. I work out like a beast every day, you know, so there should be no reason why I should be having these problems. So I done a little research. I popped a whole bunch of former distributors that was having the similar problems or problems, you know, the same problems as me or problems similar to me.
Lastly, here's an article from August 2020. One of Herbalife's big claims is that they're focused on health and wellness, and their products will make you healthier and live a really long, good life. But based off of this information, I think it's extremely possible that Herbalife isn't just gonna fuck you up financially, socially, and emotionally, but it could also have serious side effects on your health. And when you have health conditions, that's gonna end up costing you more money in the end. Lastly, number 3, we have to be aware and cognizant of the fact that our own government and its regulations, as they pertain to MLMs and a lot of things, are set up to protect the interests of corporate America and not the interests of the average American citizen. Political actors on both sides of the aisle, whether it's the ex-mayor of Los Angeles, whether it's the vice president of the United States, or the special advisor on regulatory stuff to the president, anyone can take a position and be motivated by their own self-interest and their own greed. Yes, it is overwhelmingly sad and disappointing that this is the state of things, but that doesn't mean that we should shut up and stay quiet about it. Now more than ever, with social media, with videos, with lives, with everything we have at our fingertips, it's easier to share about things that are happening, share about those injustices, and organize with others. So people have to keep talking about these issues, and we have to keep amplifying the voices of people who need to be heard. If you are still here, thank you so much for watching. If you want to hear more from me, go ahead and click that subscribe button. Also, please let me know in the comments what your thoughts are about all of this. Thank you so much, and see you next time.